Steelers Nation, what is going on? Before we dive into today's exclusive breakdown, let me say something right from the jump. This team is working every single day to improve, to evolve, and to fix the details that separate good teams from great ones. And if you want to keep supporting this channel, helping it grow, helping it reach more members of the Black and Gold family, go ahead and smash that like button right now. It takes only 1 second and makes a massive difference. Now, let's get into the story of a game that was electric, emotional, chaotic, and costly. The Pittsburgh Steelers didn't just beat the Cincinnati Bengals, they beat them down. A 34-12 statement win. A good old-fashioned AFC North beat 'em up. The kind that makes you sit back and say, this is Steelers football. But as the terrible towels waved and the stadium roared, something wasn't right. Because even though the score was lopsided, Steelers Nation walked out of Acrisure Stadium holding its breath after Aaron Rodgers went down with a hand injury. Just when the offense was finally developing chemistry, just when Rodgers was cooking the Bengals secondary, just when this team looked ready for its strongest stretch of the season, disaster struck. Late in the second quarter, Rodgers took a hit and fell awkwardly onto his non-throwing hand. At first, nobody thought much of it, but then the camera zoomed in and you could see blood running down his hand. Rodgers tried to stay in. He even ran one more play, but when he walked off the field, every fan in the building knew he was done for the day. Before the injury, Rodgers was dialed in. 116 yards, 1 touchdown, accurate, efficient, calm. You could feel momentum. The offense finally felt whole. Then suddenly, the question became, could the Steelers finish the job without their field general? And that's when the story took a turn nobody saw coming. Enter Mason Rudolph. The man always doubted, always questioned, always waiting in the wings. And Steelers Nation, he delivered. Rudolph came out in the second half and played like a veteran who had been preparing for this moment his entire life. 12 of 16 passing, 127 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 hesitation. He connected with receivers, extended drives, and kept the Bengals defense honest. It felt like he stepped into the huddle and said, "Relax, I've got this." And he did. But Rudolph wasn't the only surprise of the afternoon. Because this season has been unbelievable in terms of injuries, the Steelers also saw Jaylen Warren briefly exit with an ankle scare. Did the offense fall apart? Not at all. Because suddenly, Kenneth Gainwell and Caleb Johnson took over rushing duties and gave the Steelers meaningful snaps. And Darnell Washington, the 6'7" tight end, built like he was created in a steel mill, delivered one of the plays of the game. A 31-yard rumble, breaking tackles, stiff-arming a Bengals defender straight into 2026. When your starters fall, you need heroes. And on Sunday, Pittsburgh had plenty. But that wasn't even the biggest story of the day. Because while the offense was adjusting, the defense decided to throw a party. Joe Flacco had no chance. Kyle Duggar read his eyes like a children's book and jumped a route for a 74-yard pick six that sent the stadium into pure chaos. Then James Pierre, yes, James Pierre, scooped up a loose ball and sprinted 33 yards into the end zone. That's 14 defensive points. That's Steelers football. That's the identity this fan base loves. Physical, violent, gritty. Make a mistake, they make you pay double. But in the middle of the dominance, another problem emerged, and it was a big one. Jaylen Ramsay, playing one of his best games of the season at safety, completely lost his cool in the second half. 2 altercations with Jamar Chase, 2 personal fouls, 1 punch thrown. And by NFL rule, 2 fouls equal automatic ejection. The moment he walked off the field, the stadium buzz immediately changed. Even though the Steelers were well ahead, losing Ramsay in a game that wasn't fully secured yet was dangerous. Mike Tomlin, he didn't mince words. When asked if the officials gave him an explanation, Tomlin simply said, "I didn't need any." Then he followed with the line that said everything. We've got to be smarter. We got to stay in football games as individuals. Translation, Ramsay, you're too good and too experienced for that. And Tomlin wasn't done. When asked what changed since the last time the Steelers played Cincinnati, a game where the secondary got torched, Tomlin praised the stability at safety, then added a quiet but pointed jab, other than Jaylen not finishing the game. That's as close as Tomlin gets to calling out a player directly. And he wasn't wrong. Here's the issue. Ejections are almost always followed by league discipline. Ramsay will definitely be fined, but a suspension is absolutely on the table. And if the NFL hands one down, the Steelers could be without Ramsay next week against the 7-3 Chicago Bears, one of the hottest teams in football. That's the last thing this defense needs. Ramsay claims Jamar Chase spit on him before the punch, and if true, that changes the context, but not the result. Ramsay is a superstar. He's a leader. He's the most versatile DB on the roster. But you can't lose control in a divisional game. Not with this many injuries. Not with the AFC playoff picture tightening. Not with your franchise quarterback already in the locker room. He knows it. Tomlin knows it. The whole league knows it. Steelers Nation, this was one of the most emotional, chaotic, unbelievable games of the season. A blowout win. Backup heroes, 2 defensive touchdowns, a quarterback injury, a star ejected, and a fan base celebrating and worrying at the same time. The Steelers showed incredible resilience, but also paid a heavy price for it. And now, the big questions begin. Will Aaron Rodgers miss time? Will Jaylen Ramsay be suspended? Can Mason Rudolph keep the offense moving? And can this defense stay dominant with so many injuries piling up? This is the moment where the season turns, one way or the other. Steelers star safety Jaylen Ramsay was ejected in the second quarter of Sunday's huge AFC North showdown after throwing a punch at Jamar Chase. And yes, it actually happened. The rivalry already runs hot, but this thing boiled over instantly. After a physical play along the sideline, Ramsay and Chase got tangled up. Words were exchanged, shoves were exchanged, and then Ramsay snapped. He threw a punch, not the hardest punch in the world, but enough to draw a flag. And worst, he did it right in front of 2 officials. You can't do that in this league. Not today. Not against this opponent, and definitely not when your secondary is held together with duct tape and hope. And just like that, the Steelers lost maybe the one defensive player they absolutely couldn't afford to lose on a day when every snap mattered. Look, Ramsay has always been a fiery competitor. He plays with passion, he plays with pride, and sometimes, yeah, that fire burns a little too hot. This isn't the first time he's gotten into it. Heck, he once punched his own teammate at practice. But this moment, this was brutal timing.
The Steelers are dealing with multiple defensive back injuries, an overworked safety group, and one of the toughest receiver matchups in the entire NFL. And the Bengals, with Chase, Higgins, Boyd, were ready to test every inch of our coverage. Losing Ramsay wasn't just inconvenient, it was devastating. The coaching staff needed him, the locker room needed him, but most of all, the defense needed his leadership and versatility on the back end. Now, there's a real chance the league comes down with a 1-game suspension based on prior incidents around the NFL this season. That would be another blow to a unit already stretched to its limit. And Steeler Nation, you know how it goes. One small spark in an AFC North game can turn into a wildfire in a heartbeat. Luckily, this game wasn't all frustration. In fact, one of the greatest highlights of the entire season unfolded minutes later, and it came from a guy who has quietly been building something special. Darnell Washington. Remember the name. Circle it. Tattoo it. Do whatever you need to do. The big man, 6'7", 264 pounds of pure fury, delivered the most savage stiff arm you may see all year. Late in the second quarter, with the Steelers clinging to a 7-6 lead and less than a minute before halftime, Rodgers dumped a pass to Washington near midfield. Most tight ends get wrapped up, Most tight ends fall forward for maybe 2 extra yards. Not this dude. Washington took that ball, planted that giant right hand, and absolutely threw a defender into the shadow realm with a stiff arm that should come with a warning label. Then he turned upfield, ran down the sideline, and bowled over 2 Bengals defenders like they were cardboard cutouts. 31 yards later, the crowd was detonating. Momentum flipped, and the Steelers ended the drive with a field goal to take a 10-6 lead into halftime. That play? That was a message. And it wasn't whispered, it was screamed. This team still has fight, this offense still has muscle, and Darnell Washington is a problem. And let me tell you, if Derrick Henry saw that stiff arm, yeah, he's smiling somewhere, because that was vintage grown man football. Do you believe this team can keep winning if Rodgers misses time? Should Ramsay be suspended, or do you think the NFL should show leniency because of Chase's alleged provocation? And who was your MVP of this chaotic win? Duggar? Rudolph? Pierre? Someone else? Let me know in the comments. I read everything you guys post. And before you go, don't forget, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breaking Steelers update. Here we go, Steeler Nation. Let's ride.